Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife we aren't a team and I'm the only one to make parenting decisions? Hello everyone, posting this because I've been extremely conflicted after this last argument with my ex. I don't want to diminish her accomplishments, and I hope it doesn't come across that way in a post. For context, when I was young, I married who I thought was my soulmate and had 2 kids together, a daughter and a son. Unfortunately, I did not know my wife was an addict and alcoholic when we married. She hid it extremely well, until a few years in, I began noticing patterns and eventually confronted her. We split when the oldest was 3, and she signed over custody. I know she ended up being homeless a while after our split because her parents didn't want anything to do with her. Did not know anything besides that. Then she contacted me about a year back and told me she was 3 years sober, had a stable job at home. I checked with her family and everything, and yeah, she was telling the truth. She really wanted to meet her kids, and while I was a little upset at the "her kids" line, I eventually decided it wasn't my decision to make and left it up to the kids, who are now 16 male and 17 female, going on 18. They decided they wanted to meet her, and that was that. They have been hanging out with her about twice a week, and I let her come over for dinner almost every night. No sleepovers at her place as of now. So far, they've kind of have the aunt-ish relationship with her, but they do seem to be enjoying it. Which brings me to our conflict. I am far from being a great dad, but I honestly believe I am a good one. I've built trust with my kids through therapy and heart-to-hearts over the years. They're fairly popular at their school, and they recently got invited to a party that I gave them the go-ahead to go. I've spoken to them about the dangers of alcohol, drugs, etc., and they know I am always available to pick them up in a situation they don't want to be in. They also know why me and their mother split up. The kids came home around 11 and just gave me the teen-type rundown. Who was there, they couldn't believe who did what, blah blah. They also were honest with me and told me they tried Jell-O shots, which they thought were gross. That was the end of that. They weren't drunk, they weren't buzzed. They tried a drink and that was that. They were there for 2 hours and came home. Well, I guess they brought up the party in front of their mother that following breakfast meetup, and she was livid. She tried to ground them from electronics and socializing for 2 weeks. They said it was really awkward and asked me to pick them up without much of the details. While they were waiting in a car, I spoke to her, and when she told me, I honestly laughed. I asked her what gave her the right. She responded that she really wants to be a mother to her kids, and I should give her the chance to parent. That she's giving 100% to this to make this work. I told her it's way too late for that. The kids are basically adults, have part-time jobs, pay for their phone bills/clothes by choice, and are deep into their plans for adulthood. She then told me I was robbing her chance to make things right, and asked what was the point of letting her into their lives if I wasn't letting her be a mom. That we needed to be a team because she needed my support. And here's where I might be the a-hole. I told her the kids are well past the age of asking me why mommy doesn't love them when crawling into my bed at night, and that she was welcome to leave again. And as far as being a team, the only team is me and my kids. I am their parent. They listen to me and respect me because I've listened to and respected them their whole lives. We have not spoken since then, now going on a week and a half. She has still texted the kids good mornings/night messages, but has skipped 2 meetups they usually have so far. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She needs to know her place. It's great she got clean, but she missed out on basically their entire childhood. She now needs to accept she won't have that mother/kid relationship with them like she wants. I agree. I just don't want this experience to kill the effort she put in. I do believe she can have a relationship with the kids, and they also seemingly want some type of relationship with her. But they aren't kids. My daughter is hoping to study abroad in Germany because she wants to move there. This is past the dreamer level because she's put a lot of time into it already and has her scholarship applications planned out. I think your last interaction with her warrants a text to her to discuss things. While it's impossible for her to mommy to her children, it is still possible for her to be mom to her adult children if she builds her relationship the right way. I'd focus on burying, but not forgetting the past, and to not screw up the future over it. I have friends who have similar stories to your children, and they were able to salvage a relationship with a parent after many years of them not being around. They would say, my dad may not have been there for the first 10 years, but for the last 20 he has been nothing but supportive and loving. I know this is stupid, but this made me bawl a little. I truly want my kids to know even just 1/10 of the woman I knew. If she can become that woman for them, I'm for it. I just hope I'm not in the way. Hey, you're honest. If you haven't put in the work and been there, almost adult teens don't need you getting involved. And it doesn't matter how much you want to participate, if it's your own choices in life that made you lose that relationship. Not the a-hole. Like I mentioned in the post, I don't want to discredit her. She knew I wasn't going to let some freshly sober stranger around my kids. She did seemingly work hard at it, and started repairing the smaller relationships first before she decided she was ready to try and face us. It's just unfortunate she was this late. She is closer to being the woman I knew when we met now than our entire marriage. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband over kids? I, female 29, knew from a young age I don't ever want to have or raise children. I met my husband in college, and he was decidedly child-free too. We got married a couple of years back. My husband's younger sister, female 24, has 3 kids, male 5 and 2-year-old twins with different deadbeat guys. 2 months ago, she left all of them at our house. Said she was going on an errand and never came back. Just left. We filed a report and everything, and last we heard, she was safe, but did not want to come back. My husband's mom is a minimum wage worker barely scraping by. She used to be a single mom and did not want to raise these kids. I don't want to raise them either. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for them. But raising kids is a huge responsibility I don't want to take up. In the 2 months they were here, our expense has increased. We had to buy them clothes and stuff, and they're sleeping in our living room on air mattresses as we only have 1 bedroom. I had to work from home and look after them because my husband cannot get work from home, and daycare for 3 is expensive. It has been really rough to say the least. CPS did get involved and ask us whether we want to keep the kids or not. I do not. I thought my husband would be on the same page, but he wants to keep the kids. CPS has asked us to decide quickly and make necessary changes. Get a bigger home for 1. My husband and I have gone back and forth on this. I cannot live the next 16 years like this. Raising kids is hard and expensive, but he wants to be there for his family, which I get. So yesterday I told him I want a divorce, quickly, before he made any commitments and dragged me into it with him. He called me an a-hole for divorcing over kids, for abandoning him when he needed me. I told him he knew my boundaries well in advance, and this was a commitment, children, that he is unilaterally deciding on. Am I the a-hole? Edit. This is not relevant, but it is increasingly annoying when 1 out of 5 comments are telling me about wedding vows. We did not do traditional wedding vows. We do not believe until death do us part. Our vows did include not having children. Our vow was to stay together till staying apart made us happier than staying together will. Staying in a toxic relationship where you hate each other's guts just because you made a vow was never appealing to us. While some may think you're a hard person for your decision, you are not the a-hole. You had this crazy idea that you would get to remain child-free when you married someone who also wanted to be child-free. It's not like you're not agreeing on what temp to set the furnace or what color to paint the kitchen. This is about as huge as it gets, and he made a choice without caring about your feelings. I think he cares about her feelings. It's a horrible situation. He's right for stepping up though. Those kids have already been abandoned once by someone who is supposed to love them. Unfortunately, there is no right answer. Put the kids in the system is an a-hole move. Ignoring your wife's feelings and future plans is an a-hole move. He really has no choice but to be an a-hole in some way. He is choosing to put the innocent children above even his wants and desires. It's not that he doesn't care. He's just making the best decision for the kids. He can choose to step up, but he cannot force OP to step up as well. And it feels like he just dumped them on her to deal with. I can't fault either of them. Only a-hole here is the sister. The sister who abandoned her children is the absolute a-hole. If you don't want to help him with the kids, then leave. He didn't want kids either. They were dumped on him. I can certainly understand why he can't throw them out though. If there is truly no one else to care for them and sister has been reported and all the necessary avenues have been taken as far as she goes, then it comes down to putting them in foster care or caring for them. He probably wouldn't be able to live with himself if he put them in foster care. I wouldn't be able to either. He should start the process of hunting her down for child support immediately though. I'd say to Opie, if you have a sibling and he/she has kids and dumped them on you, and either you had to care for them or put them in foster care, what would you do? If you have no siblings and no nieces or nephews, it's really hard to put yourself in his shoes to answer that though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after she was assaulted? My ex-girlfriend, female 24, and me, male 25, were at a bar last Friday, and when I left for 5 minutes to grab a hot dog as the bar stopped serving food at 11 p.m., I came back and found my girlfriend dancing intimately with a guy. I was angry, and I left an argument where she didn't really seem to understand why I was angry and called me dramatic and insecure. I decided this wasn't for me on my way home, because she was rubbing herself against the dude, but also because she dismissed me being hurt. However, I decided to sleep on the matter because we were both drunk, and I would give her another chance to explain. Next morning, I woke up to a million texts from her. She was asking me where I was and to come back. This was until 2 a.m. and then later at 7 a.m. from her mother telling me that ex-girlfriend was assaulted and beaten, and that she was in the hospital. Since that day, I have been harassed by her family calling me out for leaving her drunk in the middle of the night. While I do feel bad for what happened to her and some guilt, I still don't know what I was supposed to have done. But now her mother tells me that I need to visit her. But I said that I wanted to make it clear that we are broken up. Decided that before anything happened, and that if I visited, maybe it would be worse, because she might think we are back together. I've talked to my family and they don't know what to say. It is all an unfortunate situation altogether, and I have no problem being there for her and supporting her. But wouldn't that give her the impression that we are back together? I don't want to add to her hurt, but at the same time, I'm done with this relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Info. Does the ex know you broke up with her? You said you were both drunk, and also said you decided to sleep on the matter. I don't know. I couldn't just tell her it is over when I found out what happened. But her texts were angry, and she threatened to end it if I didn't come back. And the last one she called me insecure was. It was strange, because before I left, I told her I was going home, and that she could take an Uber home to her place because I didn't want to see her until we have sobered up. Have you showed her mom these messages? You need to break up with her. She completely disrespected and borderline cheated on you depending on what your boundaries were. Man, that title is really kind of misleading. Based on that, I was initially ready to throw out the YTA vote. But after reading it, what were you supposed to do? It seems to me that the relationship ended a few hours before she was assaulted. How are you to know that something so horrible were to happen to her? Nobody is at fault for her being assaulted except for the man who did it. Not the a-hole. I was asking if I should suck it up and be there for her until she's stronger. Then we can part ways. Nah, dude. Block the whole lot. It sucks it happened to her, but it is not your fault. And it's not on you to help her feel better, especially if it's just going to open more doors to her and her family berating you. If you haven't made it clear to her that you're not with her anymore, send her a text, then block. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my sister in having a baby? My female 32, sister Emma, female 29, has always wanted to have kids and be a stay-at-home mom. That's literally all she dreamed about. A big wedding, house, kids. I have a very different idea of life in the opposite direction, as in career and child-free. Let me be clear, I am not ditching her choice. Every person has right to their own choices. But I do not think forcing other people to bear brunt of your choices is good. To get to the story, our parents spent a fortune on my sister's wedding. She got married around 5 years ago, but they have trouble conceiving and has already gone through 2 sets of IVF. It is sad. Our parents don't have any money to help them, and neither does brother-in-law's family. From what I know, they don't have savings, are renting and have not paid off their student loans. So a few weeks ago, they asked if I could help them, and I said no. They asked why, and I just said my answer is no. I am sorry for them, but I won't give them money. They kept pushing about it, saying how I go on exotic vacations and own a house already. I do. I worked hard in college with full scholarship, and immediately got a well-paying job. I lived within my means and saved up to buy my own house. It's not much, just a 2 BHK apartment. But to me it's great. I said my financial status is none of their business. If they want to have a family, they need to be able to afford it themselves, not ask me. My sister got mad at me saying I am refusing to help her because I hate children, that I am punishing her for her choices. I said I'm doing no such thing. She is entitled to her choices, but I'm not obliged to fund her. She is really mad at me for not helping, and my parents are asking me too. They're saying no matter my choices, I should support my sister since I can. I'm still not on board, since I believe only people who can afford kids should have them, and that I shouldn't have to pay for her choices. My sister, her husband, and his family are calling me an a-hole though. Am I? Not the a-hole. You are not, in any universe, responsible for your sister's fertility issues. Your sister can get a job to fund her treatments and be a stay-at-home mom once the baby is born, not the a-hole. Exactly. I don't get it. I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and still hope I do someday. However, I've always planned to work after marriage and before baby, even if I married someone with a good amount of money. What harm can possibly come from having a little more saved up? It really makes zero sense to refuse to work when you don't have a baby yet, but require expensive IVF treatments. Also, are you just never going to work again if you don't ever have a child? IVF is 5 figures minimum. You are not required to fund that for anyone. Also, how are they going to afford a kid then? Not the a-hole. Meanwhile, OP's vacation trips probably nowhere near 5 figures a year. Yet this has turned parents expect OP to fund more IVF treatments, while the previous 2 already failed badly. Even worse, if it does become successful, they're going to expect OP to fund a childcare and life of that baby as if she's the parent. Yeah, not the a-hole. It's clear her family is trying to financially take advantage and use her. She wouldn't be wrong to cut them off. It's completely irrelevant. She can spend millions a year on her vacations, and she would still be not responsible for her sister's issues. I was coming here to say this. She can spend 6 figures on private planes, and it still wouldn't be any of anyone's business. Spend your money any way you like, OP. Still isn't anyone's business.
Am I the a-hole for not pretending to be the father of my friend's baby? I, 20 male, have a friend from uni, 21 female, who is pregnant. Her mother and sisters are throwing a gender reveal for her. Her mother and stepfather are basically demanding that the father of the baby attend. When she announced her pregnancy, her family were not happy. One of the stipulations that her stepfather had if he was to support her and the child financially was that the father had to be involved to some extent with expenses, etc. Nobody's forcing her to marry him or be in a relationship with him, as far as I'm aware, but her family does not want her to be a single parent. Unfortunately for her, the father was a Tinder date who blocked her and everything when she told him about the pregnancy. She really needs her stepfather and mother's continued financial support since she doesn't have a paid job. Her course requires her to do X amount of hours of industry experience, so between that and her research project, she does not have time. She has been lying for months and pretending to have semi-regular contact with the baby's father. Our friends are mostly girls with only 2 guys. The other guy has met her family before and her sister knows he is gay, but they have not met me. So my friend asked me to attend a gender reveal and say I was the baby's father. I was initially conflicted and said I'd think about it. She dropped it after that for a few days. After talking about it with a friend, I decided I really did not want to, because A, this does not sound like the sort of lie you tell once, and I don't know how long I'd have to keep being involved, and B, while we are from completely different ends of the country, with social media, I fear this could get to people in my hometown or my parents, which may believe I have actually gotten a woman pregnant, which I have not. I explained this to her the next time I saw her and she looked disappointed, but agreed it was up to me. However, for the past 3 weeks, most if not all of our friends, including one of my housemates, have been telling me how stressed out she is, that she guarantees it'll be a one-time thing, and that I have really let her down. We spoke about it again yesterday and she tried to reassure me that she wouldn't ask me again, and that she shall make sure no pictures of me are taken/posted, but I find that unlikely. She was almost crying, confessing she had no one else to ask and begging me to reconsider. I feel awful about it, but know I'll just be stressed about it getting out somehow. I've seen pictures of other people's baby showers and refuse to believe that the father of the child can be omitted from all photos. My friends think I'm overthinking and making a bad situation even worse for her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Are you insane? Stay the heck away from this girl and possibly the rest of your friend group. There is no way that this lie happens without ruining you in some way. Not the a-hole. Open your eyes and let this bullet whiz right by you. First, you'd be responsible for child support. No, no, no. If she's willing to lie and manipulate her own family, she will no doubt do the same to OP somehow. Not the a-hole. She was irresponsible, got pregnant from a virtual stranger and decided to keep the baby. None of those actions are your fault. If she doesn't have the financial resources to have a baby, her solution shouldn't be to lie to her own family, so she could get their support and risk losing everything when her lie's uncovered. Don't get involved in that. They say it's a one-time thing. It clearly will not be. How does she plan to explain that the father is not there for the birth of the child? I think she was feeling that she didn't have any alternative but to lie. I feel bad for her, but I don't want to personally get involved. As for that, I have no idea how she plans to explain the father's continued absence for anything, including the birth. You covered points A and B. Permit me to cover point C. Loudly. C, they will try to put you on the hook for child support. Are you nuts? Say no, then block and run. Oh, and be ready for a DNA test when she names you anyway, not the a-hole. I do fear that that is why the stepfather wants to meet with the father of the baby. My friend says no one will want to discuss something that serious at a party, but based on what I've heard about her stepfather, that is unlikely. No, that is exactly why they want to meet you. They want your name and information, so they can get you on the hook for child support. I guarantee this will not be a one-time thing and will turn into a dumpster fire like a bad sitcom. She's not thinking clearly because she's so desperate and is not thinking about the long-term consequence of naming you the father. But after he has your name, he could do lots of things to get you to take responsibility, like harass you, get an attorney involved, contact your family, and contact your employer. You also know your friend is too spineless to stand up for you, so it's just a trap. Next story. Am I the a-hole for revealing why I rejected a promposal nearly 10 years ago? I, 27 female, attended school in the UK. Toward the end of our final year of school when we turn 18, our schools organized something called a formal, which I suppose is a bit like a prom without the romantic aspects, as you're not expected to go with anybody. And the idea of promposals generally isn't something that's done here. Nearly 10 years ago, I was preparing to leave school. I found out that not only did a boy in my class have a massive crush on me for years, but he was planning one of these massive promposals that are often done at proms. He had always been a horrendous bully to me. He would go from calling me hideous and claiming that I would die alone and unloved, to stealing my friends' phones to get my number, or sneaking up behind me and cutting out strands of my hair to keep, or going as far as to find my house through my father's distinctive car. Naturally, when the day for his promposal came along, he came out with a sign in front of the entire school, and I bluntly said no and walked away. I don't like confrontation or argument, but I had no intention of sparing his feelings after all he had done, and I was honestly just uncomfortable and wanted to leave. He badgered me until the day I left school for turning him down and being heartless. His friends did the same, but I didn't care. I recently met one of his old friends in my old town. I went to the business where one of them was working, and he kept bringing this up, saying that my bully had gotten depressed after we left school and hadn't dated at all because he was embarrassed from the rejection and was still hung up over me. He kept asking me why I felt it was okay to reject him like that over some nasty words, and if I was really that petty. I got sick of it, so I told him. Turns out that because all of these creepy things had happened within the classroom, he hadn't seen them, nor even heard of them happening. His friends and my other bullies within the class were covering for him. The friend abruptly left without a word, but apparently the gossip did rounds. Now the friend group is divided in two. Many of those who didn't know are angry with him for lying, and angry that their other friends hid what was happening, as they think it went too far. The others are angry with me for airing his dirty laundry. His parents apparently also know now, and they're angry that he had their sympathy through lies, and now know that he practically stalked me. Which brings up questions about whether they want him to take over the small farm versus a younger brother. I wonder if I should have just let his friend be mad at me. I'd probably have never seen him again anyway. I didn't know that he would tell anyone, as he'd never been one for gossip that I knew of. But I also didn't expect this to potentially ruin the life of someone I haven't seen for nearly a decade. Am I the a-hole for telling his friend the truth about what happened? The others are angry with me for airing his dirty laundry. Oh well, let them be. You didn't dirty the laundry. You're just refusing to whitewash it. Dude was a stalker and a bully. Now everyone knows the truth. Not the a-hole. Plus, it is not like Opie was a bystander gossiping about why so-and-so rejected bully dude a decade ago. Opie was talking about what her bully had been doing to her for several years. She was talking about her own life. It is not her fault that talking about a deeply unpleasant period of her own life paints a bad picture of him. Victims are far too often tasked with sparing a bully's feelings when those same people didn't at any point think the victim's feeling mattered. Looks like you forgot to block some a-holes. You should see to that. Not a-hole. Were you expected to lie for someone who made your life hell for years? How could possibly have known that everyone would find out, and even if you did, that changes nothing. He chose to do what he did all those years ago, and now is getting found out for being a creep and a bully and lying to all his friends. And that's somehow your fault? I don't think so. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my friends/roommates to use my laptop? 6 of us, me, boyfriend, and 4 other friends, are renting out a unit together so we can be closer to all the good summer jobs in a touristy town. The property has a TV that isn't a smart TV. It only works if something is connected to the HDMI cable. We have been using my laptop to watch movies/YouTube/shows together this way all week. I just started training at my summer job, and they are demanding to know my laptop password so they can keep watching movies while I'm at work. I've tried to explain that I have very personal things on my laptop. Discord and Messenger auto-start and have notifications, and I'm logged into all my accounts in my browser. They're extremely offended by this and say that I don't trust them and think they will snoop or go through my stuff or read my messages. I don't think they would intentionally snoop. I just don't want them accidentally seeing anything personal without me in the room. Now, everyone is mad at me because they can't use the TV if I'm at work. I've told them to just get a Chromecast or something, and they're acting like now they have to buy it. Since I'm an a-hole, I don't trust them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. How is it possible that only 1 of 6 young adults in an apartment has a laptop? I don't know where you are, but I just looked on Best Buy and they've got a 24-inch smart TV for $70. Surely the people who want a smart TV can come up with that money and leave your private laptop alone. We don't live in this area. We came here for 3 months because it's a beach town and the businesses hire extra help like crazy around this time, and the vacation goers tip really well. I'm the only one that brought a laptop. The others only brought their phones. I suggested ordering a Chromecast and they're still mad that they would have to get something else that isn't the laptop I already brought. Not the a-hole. They need to get their own laptop. I access my banking and credit card accounts through my laptop. No is no. Not the a-hole. You don't want something to pop up. That's none of their business. They can get their own TV doohickey. Not the a-hole. That's a weird demand from people who don't own a laptop. Even if there wasn't personal information you're worried about, it doesn't belong to them. If you wanted, you could make a guest login on your computer for them to use, but I personally don't let out my electronics because of the risk of damage. While they may not drop it, they could misuse the battery, like charging incorrectly. The oils on fingers degrade the paint on keys, general dust, food crumbs, how hard they're hitting keys can make them stick. Just know, Roku is cheap unless you cast from your phone, so they can easily do that between 4 to 5 of them. It's absurd they're so upset about this. Also, they have streaming on their phones. Though a guest account does take away the security issue, are they willing to assume responsibility if something happens to the laptop? If they're so upset about getting a $30 Roku dongle, imagine how much more hassle it will be if the laptop is damaged. Besides, what happens when everyone wants to watch TV but OP needs to use the laptop? Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling my brother-in-law a failure after he compared me to my sister? I, 30 female, have a stepsister, Chloe, 32 female, who is married to Joe, 34 male. They have a son, Liam, 4, and my husband and I have a daughter, Ava, 3. Joe, Chloe, Liam, and our parents, her dad and my mom, came to visit my husband and me at our home abroad last week, as there's lots of events going on here and good weather. We all had a good time, but it was obvious Joe and Chloe were having some issues, both with Liam and each other. Nothing serious, just tension and a few snide remarks about Liam's behavior and Chloe's appearance from Joe. Over the weekend, we all went out to have lunch and then watch a local event with the intention of attending a party afterwards. It was a long day with 3 distinct parts to it, so I had to change clothes. I changed before lunch, and when I came down to lunch, Joe said I looked nice. I said thanks, thinking that would be the end of it, but he launched into a whole rant, at a table with everyone there, about how he wished Chloe would make more of an effort with her appearance. how she still had baby weight, never thought about how she looked or how he felt being out with her, and how since I managed to keep myself together while having a husband who is never around, it obviously can be done. I was incensed. This greasy gnome had insulted 3 out of the 5 of the adults in front of our parents and the kids. So I told Joe I married a husband and a father, not an extra child, and he provides support, not excuses. If I was a single parent with a 9 to 5 and you to come home to, it wouldn't look like this. That is a reflection of your failures, not Chloe's. Joe grumbled that he was only making a point, but my stepdad said that everyone needed to calm down and we should just get on with our meal, which we did. Joe stayed away from pretty much everyone for the rest of the afternoon, while Chloe sat with us but was sullen and withdrawn. When I tried to talk to her about what happened, she blew up at me saying I insulted her and Joe's situation with the way I spoke to him. I said I never intended to embarrass her unlike her husband, and that Joe had insulted me too, by turning me into some archaic fantasy. Chloe was still angry and said I had proven his point, and made it worse by making her look like she was married to an idiot, and I should have just brushed it off. I gave up trying to talk to her, and the rest of the trip was awkward between us. My parents say I'm not the a-hole, but my husband says I sort of was. He absolutely supports everything I said, but agrees with Chloe that by defending myself, Chloe became collateral damage. I don't think I'm in the wrong, because what Joe said was weird and demeaning, and it did involve me. It's not like I gave some unsolicited or untrue response. That said, some of my friends also think I should have just let it go since I was in the most insulted party. Not the a-hole. You didn't make her look like she married an idiot. She married an idiot. Came to say exactly this. Chloe isn't mad at you. She's mad that she can't keep hiding her giant waste of space husband. And she's mad at herself for not doing anything about it. Yes, Chloe has no power in her relationship with idiot child boy, so she can only be mad at her sister. This is such sexist BS. Brother-in-law's the a-hole, and your husband needs to get in line. You know this already, but not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law is a huge a-hole. But it sounds like your sister and her husband are having more than some issues if he uses you to hurt her. Maybe her sister needs someone to be there for her. Going by her response, that clearly isn't what she wants. OP should leave her to her own devices. On the contrary, this is very common to abused people. They lash out their anger and frustration at safe targets because they can't at the cost of their anger. It's not on purpose. It's a psychological defense mechanism. She needs support and therapy, not getting more isolated from anyone who can help her, even if she's lashing out. Am I the a-hole for flipping out on my fiancé, for canceling all the vegan food options from our wedding food menu behind my back? Original post. My fiancé, 31 male, and I, 25 female, are getting married soon. There wasn't much that we disagreed on during the wedding planning, except for food. Me and my family are vegans, and there's so many reasons why we chose this lifestyle. And one of them being that we have a history of health issues. My fiancé and his family are the complete opposite. They're hardcore meat eaters, which is fine by me obviously. However, when deciding on the wedding food menu, I wanted to add 4 to 5 vegan options. My fiancé and his mom objected, saying it was a waste of money over food that isn't real food. They also argued that this would be offensive for their guests, and suggested my vegan options just be the good old salads and appetizers. His mom wanted cupcakes. Lol. I said no, because for one, it's me and my family who's paying, and two, I want to make my guests feel welcome, and not be treated as second-class citizens by just being served salad. My fiancé made a face and said, "Isn't that what vegans eat?" I refused to argue about it and said it was final. The other day, I found out that he had cancelled all the vegan options and took them off the menu completely and behind my back. I was seething. I called him at work, but he kept hanging up on me. So I went straight to his workplace and confronted him there and just flipped out on him. He was stunned to see me. He at first said it was his mom's idea, then told me to go home because I was making a scene at the office. The fight continued at home, and he defended himself by saying that I sort of made him resort to doing this, after I kept brushing off his thoughts and input and refusing to accommodate his family. But there were plenty of meat options. Why can't I get 4 to 5 vegan options when I'm paying for it? He yelled that it was his wedding too, not my family's. My family said it was fine and they'll figure it out, and told me to let it go, but I refused. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down on this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, and for the love of God, do not marry this man. I'm on my knees begging her to see the giant red flag. Yes, marinara flags all over. Good thing they're vegan. I mean, it's like they're militantly meat-focused. My family and I all love meat. We come from a large Texan family after all. But we've never refused to accommodate a guest. And plenty of the stuff we make for ourselves was already vegan before we ever even worried about it. It's not really about the meat. It's about control. Bingo. If this marriage happens, OP will be back here in less than a year complaining about how dear husband puts his mom ahead of her. I hope you are okay with mother-in-law in the delivery room when you have children. Not the a-hole, but this is about more than a menu. Not the a-hole. So he, 1, has no clue what vegans actually eat and no interest in learning. 2, believes having food for your family is offensive to theirs while having no food for your family is perfectly fine. 3, doesn't respect your inputs and your money. 4, makes decisions about matters important to you behind your back. 5, either can't stand up to his mom or uses her as a scapegoat. That's a lot of things to be really angry about. Why are you marrying this guy again? If she marries this guy, she'll end up looking back at this moment realizing it should have been her sign to run. If she married this guy, she'll find a lot of the vegan food she keeps at the house suddenly goes missing, and they'll start substituting meat in her meals without her knowledge to show how this really isn't a big deal. Not the a-hole. Are you sure you want to marry this man and his family? They have no respect at all for you and yours. Frankly, I have no idea why his mom feels so strongly about getting involved. I only included her in the wedding planning only because I respect her, but I guess it's like they say, give an inch and they'll take a mile. This isn't going to be the only thing in your marriage you will feel the need to get involved in. It doesn't just happen at the wedding. Additionally, your husband has made it clear that he's going to always side with his mother and not stand up for you, which he should do. Now for the update. So his mom messaged me earlier to try to get me to listen to what she had to say after I kept ignoring her phone calls. She spent long walls of text just to address what I did at her son's workplace, calling it all kinds of stuff, from immature to unhinged. She then went to explain how she's noticed that me and my family kept acting dismissive of her son's input and contributions to the wedding. She said that she noticed my behavior towards him and her entire family and wanted to speak up earlier but didn't and try to keep the peace. She then went on to address the food menu issue and denied her involvement in the cancellation of the vegan option, but that didn't mean she doesn't support her son's decision. Moreover, she thought it was so responsible for him to make that move because of my continual refusal to see how this stuff is waste of money. She also pointed out how I kept saying I paid for it and said that technically this isn't just my money, it's mine and his, because we're getting married, and she suggested I wisen up and get rid of my money I paid for it mentality. She finally mentioned how bad this whole situation is making me look and said that she and her son had already offered a number of compromises that I chose to brush off and decided to make it my weird hill to die on. She said that not only her son is upset, but she and the family are as well after hearing about it, and suggested I just agree on their compromise and be done with it. This angered me beyond belief. I responded by letting her know that I'm still standing my ground on this, even if I'll have to call the whole wedding off because of it. Because honestly, this is just ridiculous. It is. My mom and dad, they don't even know what to say anymore. Apparently, my fiancé saw my response to her. He's with her and is now trying to call me. But right now, I'm waiting on him to get home and see if he's still insisting on the stance he took. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving my brother-in-law a parenting book for his birthday and embarrassing in front of everybody? So to start, let me preface this by saying that my sister has been married to Hank for over 6 years. They have 2 kids and another one on the way. I visit her almost daily, and I noticed that my brother-in-law does little to nothing around the house, or even childcare. To give some examples, one time my nephew fell off the stairs and didn't need a hospital, but needed immediate care from one of the parents. My sister was literally stuck helping my niece out of the barn, and brother-in-law just sat in front of the TV shrugging it off. I was stunned that I had to go help my nephew out. Not just that, but even now that my sister is 7 months pregnant, he keeps making her lift heavy things, run after the kids, bathe them, and cook for them. He claims he's not usually this unavailable, but since it's football season, then he needs to catch up on all the games. I was getting irritated of him, especially after he ruined my wife's first ever pregnancy announcement by asking my wife if she was sure I will be a decent father. SMH. His birthday was a couple of days ago. I was going from one store to another not knowing what I should get him. Then I found something that I thought would be beneficial for him. My wife and I arrived to my sister's house and had dinner. Brother-in-law didn't stop nagging my wife about a pregnancy, saying that there's 80% chance I'll turn out to be a deadbeat's dad. I couldn't take it, and when it was time for gifts, I got up, handed him a book on parenting and said, "Here, I found this amazing book called The Gift of Failure. It's about parenting. Strange concept, I know, but I figured you'd benefit from it, especially with a third kid on the way." He was absolutely speechless. Everybody was staring at him, and my wife and mom laughed. He just gave me a look, then stormed off upstairs. My sister ran after him, then came back later saying he's calmed down after he turned the TV on a football game. He sent me an email later saying I embarrassed and mocked him in front of everybody, and demanded I apologize publicly just like I humiliated him publicly. My dad thinks I went a bit too far here too. Was I the a-hole? Now for the comments. My sister ran after him, then came back later saying he's calmed down after she turned the TV on a football game. She has to stave off his tantrums with distraction, like a toddler? Definitely not the a-hole. He needs a wake-up call. She might need a wake-up call too. The way he is acting makes it so she has 3 soon-to-be 4 children to take care of. I hope she starts to realize that and decides whether she wants to be a mom/wife to an adult. Okay, this is why we really need a justified a-hole vote. Like, were you an a-hole? Yeah, of course. But was it called for? Yes, of course as well. That's hilarious, to be honest. I'm so sorry for your sister, though. I agree. This is definitely a justified a-hole situation. And it sounds like something I would have done. So a hearty well done to OP. Just make sure, OP, you take care of your sister. She needs someone to look after her with 3 children and a 4th on the way. He calmed down after she put a football game on the TV. That's what you do with toddlers. Your brother is a toddler, and his wife is his mommy taking care of him. He is a crappy dad and has the audacity to criticize you before even having the chance to see how you parent. You could do the bare minimum and still be a better parent than him at this rate. It's absurd. I hope his wife leaves him because she deserves an actual partner, not another child. Haha, exactly. When she said that, I was like, for real? I almost bursted into laughter, but tried so hard not to because of how tense the situation was. So I didn't want to add to that, you know? It may be time to have a serious conversation with your sister about her marriage. You may even want to have your parents and other close family help with the conversation. She isn't living with a partner. She's just taking care of another child. And even if she's staying for her kids, it won't help them. Kids in situations with one lazy parent and one overworked parent are shown to be just as messed up as kids from neglectful households. Studies have shown that women in your sister's situation are happier when they leave those partners and their children becoming happier and thrive more. It overall boosts their quality of life. Her husband is an anchor that's dragging the entire family down. They all deserve much better. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he's never had to struggle a day in his life and not wanting to go back on our agreement? I recently moved into my boyfriend Sam's apartment. He comes from an upper-class family and is very well off money-wise as an attorney. I'm from a middle-class background and make nowhere near as much as him, but I'm still proud of my achievements and my struggles, which I don't think Sam always understands. I left my job a couple of weeks ago due to some issues in the workplace, and I'm not actively looking for any right now as I want a break, but I'll start looking again before the end of the year. I've told Sam all this. I do have a decent amount of savings which I use to contribute to our household. Then Sam asked me a few days ago to start contributing 50-50 to bills and other household items. It's currently distributed based on our income. I told him no, as I actually don't even have income right now. But he said that's my problem and I need to take it out of my savings. I said we agreed beforehand to split everything based on income. But he said that me not having a job is something he has to deal with, and he wants me to start paying the same as him. I said that I've worked very hard for my savings, and he can't just dictate what I do with it, and I need some left over for my own things. Sam got pretty angry and said I was selfish and mooching off him, but I said that's not the case at all. But he won't understand because he's never had to struggle a day in his life. It's been kind of tense between us because of this. I told my friend what's going on and she said it sounds like Sam's trying to financially control me. So am I the a-hole? Info, are you contributing the same amount to household bills as you were previously? Or are you paying less? Did he agree to this arrangement before you quit? I'm currently paying for groceries and such, but not for bills. He was okay with me quitting my job. I said I won't be immediately jumping into a new one as I want a break and time to relax, which he wasn't too sure about. Wow, that is way different than how you made it sound. You got him to agree to pay proportional to income, which is totally fair. You both work hard and contribute what you can. Then you said, psych, we agree proportional to income, but I'm gonna quit my job, so now you can't make me pay. You're manipulating him into making you a housewife. It is right not to put up with your crap. So no, he did not agree to these terms at all. You just thought that you're going to coast him paying all the bills. You're the a-hole. You made it sound like you were still contributing based on your previous income from savings. Instead, you agreed you'd contribute based on income, then quit your job because you thought that meant you'd have to contribute zero. You are absolutely a mooch and taking advantage of him, and he's right to tell you he won't put up with it. He's realized that you don't intend to contribute proportionally, so much as use his wealth as an excuse to do nothing. Oh wow. The post is written in such a way that I definitely thought she kept paying the same she did with her salary but with her savings instead. Complete your a-hole. Yep, I misunderstood when I first read it too. OP makes it sound like she's still contributing as much as she was beforehand. Taking a few weeks off is one thing. Taking a few months is messed up. I'm guessing that's the boyfriend's issue too. You're the a-hole. Y'all are dating, not married. Splitting rents based on proportional income is what you agreed to, but that was before you decided to quit your job. That was your choice. If that was going to make things hard on you financially, then you shouldn't have quit before you had another job lined up. You need to be paying exactly what you paid before you quit working. Full stop. His employment status has nothing to do with it. The amount of money he has is irrelevant, as his background and how he grew up. You are taking advantage of him. Not to mention she's already had a couple of weeks off but said she'd start looking forward the end of the year. We are only just in August. I think if she was being bullied/stressed in her job, she would have mentioned it for sympathy/explain why she doesn't want to go back. So I wouldn't be surprised if the work issues are her fault. I started looking for work months before I finished a degree, and it took ages, depending on how long a job is open for. Interview process, if there are more than one especially, and then starting the job. Provided she gets the first one she applies for, it could well be next year before she's contributing her normal amount. That's another if she gets a job paying the same as before. Sounds like she moved in and then decided to quit, hoping he won't kick her out. She's just a leech and looking for her meal ticket. Definitely you're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for leaving my fiancé's family trip after he pranked me? My fiancé's mother, Leah, hates me. I honestly hate her too. I've never felt this way about another human being before, but she has been nothing but awful since day one. It got to the point she was telling people she didn't even have a son and wouldn't speak to him because she hates me so much. I could see how depressed he was over losing her and agreed to family therapy. Leah agreed in therapy to stop being mean to me if she didn't have to talk to me at all, so she just pretends I don't exist. There were some very strict boundaries with us. She only gets to see her son occasionally. She will have no relationship with her grandkids, and if she starts with me again, he is done with her. Leah happily agreed. Their relationship is kind of awkward these days, but I know he needs her in his life, and she's much better when we do see her. I recently agreed to go on a family trip with him. We attended a wedding out of state and spent a few days there. Leah was there, but she's very happy not to speak to me, so I wasn't worried. We were going to a water park with Leah and his two teenage sisters, Leah's husband and one of his sister's boyfriends. I had a bikini, but my fiancé said he didn't think I should wear one that tied in the back because some of the rides were very intense. And he said he saw one that he loved for me when he was out with his sister. I thought that was sweet. I love wearing stuff I know he likes, so I wore it. Imagine my surprise when we got there and Leah had the same bikini. It was like something out of a movie. She stopped mid-walk and just glared at me. Everyone was laughing because they were all in on it. They saw something similar in TikTok and thought it would be funny due to how much we hate each other. They had been trying to pull it off for a while, but Leah bought a bathing suit while on the trip, so they saw the opportunity. Her husband and my fiancé were taking pictures of us. Leah was angry. Well, I was about to cry. Leah wasn't happy but got over it because she does join in on the pranks and the joking in the family. I don't, so it felt undeserved. And she and her husband have much more of a playful back and forth dynamic, so she didn't feel so betrayed. It was still really embarrassing walking around with her. I know this is probably petty, but I also felt insecure because she has a nicer body than me, and I just didn't want to feel like there was any competition. Leah's husband even said something about, at least I get to be married to the hot one. I decided to leave because I wasn't having fun. My fiancé was upset and felt I ruined the day but did offer to leave with me. I said it was okay, but when I got back to the hotel, I decided to change my flight and go home. I just don't like being the butt of the joke and didn't want to be there. My fiancé called me very hurt and said he felt leaving was an overreaction and now he's embarrassed in front of his family. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. At this point, I would be rethinking the entire wedding. What kind of a-hole plays a prank like this on the woman he professes to love? A successful prank is one where, when all is said and done, everyone is laughing. This one humiliated you. That's not a prank. That is straight-up emotional abuse. And Leah got over it because she enjoyed your humiliation, and that her son is coming closer to her family with an act like this. There it is. Yep, honestly, Leah is an antagonizer. Because of her behavior and childish attitude, she's causing toxicity in the family by choosing to pretend you're not there anyway in the first place. I wouldn't put it past someone this cruel to find joy in sadness of others, even if it's at the expense of the person her son is in love with. I don't blame you, Opie. Not today, home. Even if you let this slide, Leah would likely find other ways to make the relationship among the family unhealthy. If not on this trip, soon afterwards. I'm sorry. I would talk to your fiancé about this. It was mean, especially because he knew his mother chooses to pretend you don't exist. Also, what therapist would endorse this as a strategy? Is there a subreddit about bad therapists? Not stay home. Honestly, this prank is the least of your problems. You're engaged to someone whose mother hates you, to the point where she pretends you don't exist and doesn't speak to you. And he tolerates that. Good luck marrying this dude. You're in for a bumpy ride. Next story. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for messing with my alarm and causing me to miss my exam? I, female 23, have been married to my husband, male 26, for a year. I'm in my last year of university and been so busy for the last 2 weeks, with many projects and finals looming. My husband complains from seeing me studying and not doing activities together or hanging out with friends anymore. I've told him it's not gonna last forever and that I need to focus because this is my last year, and it's been the hardest. The day before the exam, he wanted me to go with him to a friend's birthday party. I refused because I was busy preparing for my exam. He pleaded with me saying it's just 1 hour and talked about how his friends will be upset if I'm not there. I said no and shut down any further discussions. He got upset and called me selfish and inconsiderate, but then dropped it. Before I went to bed, I set my alarm clock like I always do since I'm a heavy sleeper, plus I stayed up late studying. The next morning, I woke up at 9 a.m. I literally freaked out and checked my alarm and found that it was set to go off at 9:30 a.m. I had no idea how this happened until my husband told me he did this to repay me for refusing to take 1 hour to attend a party, so he took this hour for my time. I couldn't believe it. I absolutely blew up at him, just yelling and screaming at him left and right. He just stood there shocked for my reaction and my rage. I got dressed quickly and rushed to the university. They didn't let me into the exam hall. I got into a lot of hassle to get them to reschedule the exam, especially since I had no legit reason as to why I was late. It was awful is all I can say. I went home and my husband and I stopped speaking to each other. He kept acting as if I hurt his feelings and traumatized him by yelling, and that I deserve what he did since he was frustrated with my continued refusal to attend all events for the past 2 weeks. I might be wrong for not considering it, but I think that my exam should be a priority, and his way of teaching me a lesson was not right. Not stay home. Holy crap. Your husband wanted to actively ruin your future because of a freaking party you couldn't attend? What kind of husband would do something like that? That's so petty. I think he deserved a lot more than just being yelled at. I would have kicked him out immediately. My husband and I started dating around the time of my second master's and got married after I had completed it. Now I'm in a PhD program. Through all of it, I've had to work insanely hard, but never has the man complained once. Your partner should be understanding the importance of your education and career. Not stay holopy, but I strongly suggest rethinking living with this man. My husband was in law school when we were married. The first year, he disappeared from our social circle for finals. Then for another month studying for the bar. I gave him all the space he needed. I had been a lawyer a few years by then and knew what it took. Not stay home. What a terrible partner. Not stay home. Honey, I'll be straight with you. Your husband is abusive. He wants to control what you do and does not support your success. Please tell your place of study that you missed the exam because you're in a horrible relationship. Leave him as soon as it's safe, and do not have a baby with this man. OP, please take this comment to heart. As someone who left a husband like this was an early occurrence that I wish I had taken more seriously. Run, and don't look back. Not stay home. He did this totally out of spite, knowing it would cause you to be late to your exam. You are right. University doesn't last forever, and you will be able to go out and do more fun things when it's over. Might be worth reminding him that it's actually going to be longer until you can do that, now that you've missed your exam. On an unrelated note, if you just simply didn't want to go, that should also be fine. He doesn't need you to hold his hand everywhere. He seems disrespectful of your time, your work, and your autonomy. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my girlfriend pack? Me, 21 male, and my girl Katie, 20 female, moved in together a year ago. It's been pretty sick, not gonna lie. We've been dating since high school and we love living together. We also just found out she's pregnant last month, which has been scary as hell, but we're ready for it. Our lease is ending, and Katie begged to move farther from her parents so we could experience independence. I like our current apartment and would rather just stay here, but Katie insisted. I told her, fine, as long as I don't have to do anything. She agreed excitedly and got to work packing, basically as soon as she could get boxes. We decided to move to a city about 3 hours away. She promised I wouldn't have to do anything, except maybe help load some boxes in and out of our apartments. I did mention to her that maybe we should scrape some money together for movers or something. I don't know. I don't really understand pregnancy, but I'm pretty sure she's not supposed to be moving stuff. But she said she was fine, and I'm not about to tell her she's wrong. I've stuck to my word and basically haven't helped except for taping some boxes. She's packing basically everything and seems a little tired. Yesterday, she asked me to help wrap and tape some picture frames and bubble wrap. I said no, that's not part of our agreement. She said she knows, but she figured I would help a little bit. But why would I do that? We literally made an agreement. My girl started crying and said she's been feeling really tired and just wants a little help. She said she's had a headache for like a week and just wants to rest. I told her that's rough, and if she wants, I can run to Starbucks. She started crying and told me to just leave her alone. What did I even do? Like, I'm pretty sure this isn't my fault, but my boy said I don't understand women and laughed at me. Am I the a-hole for not helping my girl pack? Now for the top comments. But why would I do that? To show her you love and care for her and that you will love and care for the child she's carrying for you. You're the a-hole. Get your act together or you'll be seeing the kid weekends only if you're lucky. And don't give coffee to pregnant people either. But we're ready for it. Bro, I don't think you are. You're incredibly immature. So you're being petty because she wanted to move? If it's such a big issue, communicate. You're basically punishing her because you didn't like the decision. And in the same breath, you're pointing how she shouldn't be moving stuff because she's pregnant. You're also being a complete a-hole. That's not part of our agreement. She said she knows, but she figured I would help a little bit. But why would I do that? We literally made an agreement. Jesus Christ, are you 12? What the actual heck? You couldn't help her. You're living together. You're apparently starting a family together, but you can't put aside your pettiness to help her? She said she's had a headache for like a week and just wants to rest. I told her that's rough, and if she wants, I can run to Starbucks. She started crying and told me to just leave her alone. So you're not just an a-hole. You're also insensitive, have zero emotional intelligence, and then you decide to go ahead and consult with your boys, instead of showing a modicum of respect and common decency. I can't believe people like you reproduce. God bless your girlfriend because she's in for a rough ride. Do her a favor, mate. Either you do some serious self-reflection and grow the heck up, or leave her alone. Don't waste her time and energy. I can believe it. That was my ex-husband in a nutshell. Wait until he gets asked to put the Xbox controller down and change a diaper. You're the a-hole. I will move as long as you do all the actual work. Is iffy to start with. It is the kind of thing 12-year-olds would think is a good idea, but is obviously a bad idea to anyone who has physically packed up an apartment. But to stick to that when she asks for help and she's pregnant is borderline unforgivable. You aren't holding her to her word. You are holding her out to dry. And that bodes very poorly for your future. Both because you come across like an awful partner, and this is the kind of thing that will stick in her craw for the rest of her life. You need to stop what you are doing. Give her a wholehearted apology and dive into packing. She should go lie down while you take on a lion's share. Because if you don't, this will be the screw up that your relationship never moves past. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving the house almost as soon as I walked in after a week of being away? Long story short, I, 29 female, brought my 3 kids to my mom's for the past week for a little mini vacation that husband could not attend due to work. He was fine with us because he doesn't like my mom. I left last Friday and got back to our state this morning. When I walked through that door, the house was a pigsty. Dirty dishes everywhere but the sink, clothes everywhere, half-full soda cans strewn throughout the house. Even on my desk, which is behind my husband's, there were easily 8 soda cans, 4 bowls, silverware, plates, water glasses, and napkins. On my porch, there were at least 12 beer cans piled up beside the returnable bin, because his buddy Tyler came over Saturday to drink and apparently never cleaned up. Multiple takeout boxes and bags in both the kitchen and bedroom. My husband was in playing video games with 2 open bags of chips beside him, and like 5 cans of soda on his desk. He nonchalantly asks me how my trip was, as I was looking at the filth he created. It was spotless when I left, because I grew up in a trashed home and have severe triggers when it comes to a messy house, so I always clean. Our youngest son said something about how dirty the place was, and my husband said, "Oh yeah, sorry, I haven't had time to clean." Yet he had time to play video games. So I left, took the kids to the beach. I can't do filth. I truly cannot do it. He knows this. He knew when I was coming home too, because I called him as soon as we got back to Austin. So he had roughly 2 hours to even attempt to clean up a bit, and didn't. So anyways, I leave. He starts sending texts asking why I left because he missed us. And I said I refused to come home to that much filth. And that I found it over the top disrespectful that he would just leave it there, assuming I would pick it all up is my guess. He gets angry and says he has been at work and just hasn't had time and wanted to spend some time relaxing on his video game before cleaning and sweating his butt off. I ignored it. He says I'm being controlling and over-obsessive and need to chill out because he will get it done. So I text him about an hour ago, after 4 hours of being gone, and ask if it's done. And he says no, that he had stuff to do. So I booked a hotel and told him I won't be returning until it's finished. He is now pissed, saying he missed the kids and wants to see them now, but I'm keeping them from him. All because I can't deal with a bit of a mess. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Dude was living like a bachelor for a week. Picking up after yourself is not hard to do when you live alone. He created a much bigger job for himself than it needed to be. I would bet $1 million that he knew Opie liked the house clean and was banking on her picking up after him. Opie should tell her husband that she already has 3 kids. She doesn't want 4. The fact after 4 hours of no kids and wifey, he still refused to clean up his filth shows me he sees his wife as a bangmaid. He expects her to clean up after him and will find any and every excuse possible as to why he's allowed to live like a pig without cleaning. Why it's apparently wifey's duty to be his domestic servant. Good for Opie. I hope she never returns to the lazy a-hole unless it's to kick him out of her kid's home. Not stay home. The kids don't need to live in filth. He is acting like a toddler, throwing a tantrum because he was told to pick up his toys before he gets his dinner. That's just hurtful to toddlers. My toddler cleans up better than this man. Not stay home. He was alone in a clean home by himself, and he not only trashed it but let his friends do it too. That is highly disrespectful to you and to the kids since they are also coming home to a dirty house. You know it's bad when a young child says something because most lack a filter. He even went as far as putting trash on your desk. If he didn't want to clean, he could have kept his shenanigans outside the home or hire a one-off cleaner. I bet it would have been cheaper than you and the kids having to stay in a hotel until it cleans up. There is no reason your home should look like a dump due to one grown man being lazy. Wouldn't even go as far as saying child, because that would be disrespectful to children.